Hello. I'm talking like this because I want to calm you down. This episode is about combating anxiety. So, a little bit about me. I've been struggling for nearly my whole life with pretty severe anxiety. I go to therapy regularly, take the meds, the whole 9 yards. And I've spent a lot of my life, once I became very aware of it, trying to manage it, live with it, and find peace in spite of it. Because anyone with anxiety knows you can live with it and figure it out, but it doesn't ever really go away, per se. So I wanted to discuss some tips and tricks to live with anxiety, both through life and through a performance headspace. So later in the episode, I'll get into more like mindset shifts that you can work on over time. But if you're like, okay, that's great and all, but how do I help myself right this moment? I'll do that first. So listen up. These things are actual actions you can take to help work with your anxiety. These are actual things you do rather than sort of like, think happy thoughts, fake it till you make it. These sort of lofty ideas. This is like actual concrete things you can do right now. Okay? So, breathing is a huge thing. So, these are some things I do before a performance specifically, but also if I'm feeling a very high level of anxiety, to sort of tell my body, you're not being threatened by a man-eating tiger. You're just backstage, ready to go on. Everything's okay. So the first thing is box breathing. This is where you inhale for a specific count, hold your breath for a specific count, exhales for a specific count, and then hold your breath again for a specific count. I like 7. 7 is my favorite number, and I also just think it's a little bit longer to sort of calm the system because as we know, when we sleep, we breathe way slower. Our heart rate goes down. We're in a very relaxed state. And anxiety is quite the opposite. A lot of times your heart ends up racing and you breathe really, really fast and shallowly. So box breathing slows the breath down. It gets us in a calm state. So I feel like 7 is a nice number because it's a little bit longer than you might spend breathing in, breathing out, or holding your breath. But it's not like excessively long. And I just like the number 7. So we're going to do 7. But if you find that you like 4 or you like 9 or something like that, you can do whatever works for you. So play around with this. But we'll do a couple of rounds of this. So you're going to breathe in for 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Hold your breath for 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Exhale for 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then hold your breath again for 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All right, let's do that one more time. So inhale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Hold 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Exhale 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And hold 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All right, we've done that twice now. So you should already feel that your breathing has slowed itself down. Your heart rate has slowed down. So I love that one. That's a really helpful one. This one is similar, but it adds in this sort of sensory thing to it that can be really helpful for anxiety, just getting your mind off of whatever the heck you're thinking about and onto something that's like tangible. So this is called alternate nostril breathing. What you do is you plug one nostril, you breathe through that nostril, then you plug the nostril you just breathed through, and you exhale through the other nostril. Now, if you want to make this even further alternating, then what I would do is, after you've done that one cycle, now you're going to breathe in through that same nostril you just exhaled out of so that you're not only breathing in through one nostril and breathing out through the other, but you're also alternating that. So let's do a couple rounds together. So first, let's plug our left nostril and then take a breath in through your nose. And then hold your breath while you flip and cover up your right nostril. Now you're going to exhale through your left nostril. And now keep your right nostril closed and inhale again through your left nostril. And now plug the left nostril and exhale through your right nostril. Let's do it one more time. So still left nostril plugged. Inhale through your right nostril. Hold it and plug your right nostril and exhale through your left nostril. Now inhale through your left nostril, keeping the right one plugged. Hold your breath, plug your left nostril, and breathe out through your right nostril. This is similar to box breathing in the way where it slows the breath and the heart rate down, but you have the added sensory thing of feeling the air coming from different nostrils and also actually physically touching your nose. So I love that one too. Those are my two favorite breathing exercises that I like to do. Now, some other things. Sour things, you would not believe how well that these work. I recommend, especially as a singer, I would recommend some sort of lozenge. So honestly, like keep some warheads on you. I know they're like, they just like shock your system. That's essentially the goal, where you put something really sour in your mouth. And if you ever had anything sour, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You put the sour thing in your mouth and then like your mouth almost like hurts for a second. Like you get all of, even like the back of the mouth, like by the jaw, you start getting all these sensations all over your mouth. And then you even make that like gross face that people make, that the warhead guy makes. You get all of that going on. And now whatever anxiety was in your brain literally on a chemical level, it like stops paying attention to that and starts paying attention to like what the heck is going on in my mouth right now. So this is a very quick fix, and like a quick fix, obviously the anxiety will probably come back, especially if it's something like overarching. But it's a great way, like pop a warhead in maybe 20 minutes before you sing or 15 minutes before you sing. We don't want to like have it mess with your, vocal mechanism, but right when you're starting to get, the nerves are starting to kick in, pop a warhead. Maybe a little bit later, you do some box breathing, and now you're all ready to go. Your heart rate is lowered, your system's been shocked, and you're ready to go. This is similar with aromatic sorts of things. So a lot of people really like oranges because they have a lot of texture to them. So if you sit with an orange, for example, and you say, okay, I'm going to sit and look at it, and I'm going to describe it in detail. I'm going to use all my senses. So I'm going to see it and describe it. I'm going to touch it and feel all the little ridges, because oranges are really ridgy. They're not smooth. And then oranges, if you even like poke the peel, have a very, very strong aromatic smell to them. So you may open it up, smell it, and then you can taste it because it's food. So you can eat some of it, feel how that feels in your mouth. And you spend like 5 minutes exploring this orange. Or you can do it with any fruit really, but an orange is a good one because it's so potent. And it's also got the sensory part, because something like an apple might work, but apples are really smooth. So a lot of times that's going to take you like 2 seconds to figure out. But an orange has so many little crevices, and every orange is different. So it's really exciting to kind of go through and do that. And this is similar to the sour thing, where it just kind of distracts your brain. You have to think about all these other things, and you're thinking about them so actively, and you're so present in that your anxiety actually ends up getting pushed to the back burner. I'm not going to tell you that I'm some sort of magician and that your anxiety just goes away, because that's just not how it works. But this is a way to sort of get it to be at the back end of your brain instead of up in the front, bothering the heck out of you constantly. So this is very similar to what I was just saying with the orange, but just being present in the now and describing it. So you can do this in your head, but doing it out loud is like super awesome. So right now, if I were doing it right now, I would say, okay, I am looking at a Blue Yeti microphone. It feels sort of rough on the bottom, but the top is nice and smooth. It's silver. I can see myself in the reflection. Oh, I have purple glasses on. I can even see that. And my headphones have red in them. And then I'm in front of my laptop and I have my notes in front of me. And the laptop's really clear because it's new. So it's got all of the things that are nice and clean. And I also have my phone near me. I have my beverage next to me. I have Gizmo's fluffy bed that got taken away because he keeps biting it. And I'm looking out, it's nighttime outside, and I'm looking at my orange couch and all the Raven stuff on the wall and my 3 TVs. I'm not joking. And my kitchen's a little dirty, but that's okay. And I see this purple water bottle and yada yada, you get the idea. And you just go on and on about that, about what's around you. And now suddenly that's what you're thinking about over something that's more anxiety producing that could be taking over your thoughts. Now, this really plays into performance because one of the biggest and most addictive things that performance and sports and anything that has this in it is the flow state. If you've ever heard of the flow state, you can read about it. My favorite book about it is The Inner Game of Tennis. Look it up. You don't have to know tennis to have it be relevant. I actually had to read it for a class in vocal performance grad school. Super relevant. But to put it generally, anyone who's performed or played a sport knows what I'm talking about. It is the state where you're there, but you're like almost not there. It's like a meditative state. You just doing it. You're doing the thing. You're getting it right. I love using basketball players as an example because this is a frequent thing that happens where someone will get into their flow state and they're just making basket after basket after basket after basket. And the thing about it is their flow state is when they are not honing in on specific things about their playing, but are just kind of in it and trusting their bodies to do it. And it's like an out-of-body experience, and they're just going and going and going. Same thing with performance. It's kind of this out-of-body experience. You're not thinking about very specific things in your technique because that's the easiest way for something to go wrong. So it's a real great way to combat anxiety is to get yourself in that flow state. And if we're talking about performance, the easiest way to get yourself there is to really, really ground yourself in the dramatic intent of whatever you're doing. And I truly believe this. It does not matter if you're a singer-songwriter or you're singing pop covers at a bar or if you are in an opera or whatever you're doing. There's dramatic intent built somewhere because that's what music is all for. So dig into it and have that be your main focus. And it's easier said than done, but once that happens, you get into that state of flow and the anxiety starts to fly away. And that's why a lot of people get addicted to performance and get the bug, as they say, because they get up on stage and suddenly they feel like they can do anything and they're in that flow state and everything feels great. Love flow state. If you want to know more about flow state, I'd love to do a podcast episode, so let me know. Anyway, now let's go into daily practices and things you can do to kind of help yourself. These are not going to be as helpful for right before a performance. I would suggest doing the breathing things, the sour, the shocking your system, flow state stuff. But if you're also looking for just how can I do this in my day-to-day? I love, love, love this advice my therapist gave me, and it was to be comfortable with the worst-case scenario and let yourself go there for a second. It feeds your anxiety just a little bit, but only for a moment, and it ends up really helping. So for example, now, unless the worst case scenario is one of your basic needs not being met, like food, water, and shelter, then don't go there. But for in the case like performances or like messing up an audition or messing up a performance, A lot of times, the absolute worst case scenario is not going to lead to a life-threatening conclusion. So let yourself go there. For example, now it's story time. So, my senior year of undergrad, we had this thing in undergrad in general called noon recital, which was basically a 2-hour block every week where a few students would perform for all of the faculty and all of the other students in the program. And everybody would be required to do it once a semester. And you'd usually sing 1 to 3 songs depending on how long they were. So it was my turn to go, and I programmed this very short, cute, I think it was a Wolf German lieder piece that I was doing on my senior recital later that month, I think. I think it was like a couple of weeks after. And a art song called Toothbrush Time, which is more of like cabaret vibes, more my vibe if you know me. But I was equally excited about both of these things. And for some reason, I was like, the German's a little bit new to me, and I'm just like kind of nervous. So I was just thinking about it so hard and wanting it to be so good. And then I get up to perform. And I kid you not, every single word of the song left me. Sometimes you get like a phrase mixed up with one another or you miss one word. No, I forgot every word of this song. And it was in German, so it wasn't like I could, on the fly, make up new words that would make sense. So I just did a blah, 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 blah. The whole song. I'm not even kidding. There wasn't a single moment in the 2 minutes of the song that I got back on the right lyrics. Nothing ever came out that was correct. I just said blah, 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 blah. But I kept going. I got all the notes right. I kept singing. It got to a point where even faculty in the back of the little performance area were they were trying to mouth the words and lightly sing on top of me to help me. But I there was no helping me. I forgot it all. And it just was not going to come back. And then I was like, wow, that was so horrifying. I was sweating. It was just the worst experience. And then I went on and I sang my other song and I tried to put a lot of personality into it. It ended up going well. And afterwards, obviously, I was super hard on myself. I probably cried. It was horrible. And I was like, I'm performing this on a recital in 3 weeks for a lot of people. This is terrifying. But as you can see, many years later, here I am, completely fine. Of course, it's easier said than done. But when you think of the worst case scenario, what's the worst case scenario? Yeah, you forget all the words. You feel embarrassed. You don't get a part. But then what? You've dealt with those things before, and you can deal with them again. And something else will always change. This isn't going to change the entire course of your life in the most negative way possible. None of it will. Everything will happen how it should. So in this case, I was embarrassed. I put on my recital. It went fine. I didn't lose any respect from any of the people in the audience. I don't know if anyone even remembers that this happened. And I ended up getting a very prestigious award at my graduate school graduation. Meanwhile, while it was happening, I thought that my whole career was over because there were a bunch of faculty watching me do this and messing up. And it was all because I was thinking so hard about getting it right before I walked on. I knew the words, but I was going over them over and over and over in my head up until I got on that stage, and then I forgot them all. So, all that to say, be comfortable with the worst case scenario. And maybe a day before you're going to be in that sort of anxiety producing situation, let yourself go there and then be like, cool. That's the worst case scenario. Got it. Prepared. I'll be fine. Doesn't matter. Again, as long as your food, water, and shelter is not being threatened, you will get through it if it's the worst case scenario. Okay. Now, what else can we do here? Figure out what kind of anxiety you're feeling. This is more of a general thing. In performance, it's usually the kind of like high heart rate, crazy, I feel like I'm going to die, I need to get this energy out sort of energy that happens. But what if you're feeling a little unmotivated and you're feeling anxious about that? Do something else that brings you joy. Call your friend, hang out with your pet, go for a walk, read, all those sorts of things. What if you need to calm down? Actually, expelling that energy is really helpful. I had a time where like I had a really triggering conversation and I just felt so jittery and I was like, I think I need to run right now. So I don't run, and y'all know I don't run. But I just like ran for a little bit and I was like, aha, that's what my body needed. And then I just kind of felt better. I just needed that. Like when you're triggered and you know you're okay, but your body is like, no, you're not. That sort of thing. Treat yourself like your friend. I'm sure you've heard this one before. But if you wouldn't say it to your friend like that because it's too harsh, don't say it to yourself like that, period. Okay. And stop apologizing. If any of you know who Glennon Doyle is, I love her. And she has a podcast. And on one of her podcasts, they talk about being guilty and feeling guilty and the feeling of guilt. And it completely changed everything for me because they defined it as when you feel guilty, it's because you went against your morals or your values. So she gave an example of like her daughter told her a secret in confidence and she told somebody else. And then the daughter found out. And then she was like, wow, I feel really guilty because I betrayed my daughter's trust. That is against my moral code. But then there was another scenario where it was like the family was overwhelmed and they were supposed to host a barbecue, but they really couldn't handle it and they had to back out. And then someone made them feel bad about it. And then they felt quote unquote guilty. But that's not going against their morals. They were doing what was best for their family. It's like a completely different feeling. So only apologize when it's a guilty feeling, when it's something that goes actively against your morals. Like if you miss a lesson without telling the teacher, apologize. You could feel guilty about that. That's not a real good thing to do to a person. But if you like sing the wrong words or like crack on a note, don't apologize. Oh my God. I could go on and on about that, but that's my brief little soapbox moment on that. But to go over what we talked about today, you can do actual physical things to help your body calm down before a performance, like box breathing, alternate nostril breathing, eating sour things, describing things, aromatic things that you can actually like experience, being really in the moment, flow state, anything that shocks your system into thinking about something else. And then you can also do practices in your daily life that can help you, like giving your body what it needs. Go for a run, call a friend, or letting yourself think of the worst case scenario and know that you'll be fine. Stop apologizing and treat yourself like your friend. Bye. Love you.